Hello friends, welcome to the recap, the show where we go through some of the major talking points in this most recent round of Premier League fixtures. This week we have so much to be talking about. We have some crazy results, some epic performances, and a lot of talking points. So join me as we go through every bit of it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it with a like and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this coming very soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well. You don't want to miss what's coming up in the near future. But now, let's talk the Premier League. Up first, we're going to be talking about Everton's massive win against Arsenal. As you can see by the attacking momentum bar, it was kind of 50-50 in the first half. I thought Everton were the better side, though. They really did a number on Arsenal in midfield. We're going to get to that in just a second. Arsenal did come back into the game. However, I didn't really think that they threatened Everton all too much. And actually, some of the chances that Everton got were the best chances in the game. I thought they were extremely good. Sean Dyche has got this team playing to a certain rhythm. He's got a system in them, and they really have started to believe in what they're doing. I was extremely impressed by these midfield three. The picks of Gay in the middle, Doucouré on the right, and Onana on the left was just fantastic. Onana's running power down this left-hand side was very, very good, and he also did a big number on Martin Odegaard. If we have a look at his heat map, we can see that really some of the main positioning that he has was just in front of their box, but on the left-hand side. Their left-hand side, Arsenal's right-hand side, and that was just stopping Martin Odegaard right here from being able to pick up the ball in those pockets of space. He was starting to drive players back, and also he had the ability and the stamina to drive himself forwards. It was very, very good, and we have a look at some of his stats. He was also extremely good in the tackle. He was winning 6 out of his 10 duels, and he's just a real good player. I thought I was impressed with him when he played for Belgium in the World Cup, but he's really starting to find his feet in this Premier League side. Everton obviously have been lacking confidence massively, and he has started to really pick up his performances. I was extremely impressed with the way he played. I was also impressed with Doucouré. If we have a look at where Doucouré particularly played, we can see he's out on this right-hand side. However, he did start to move forwards later on in the game. He started to have that little bit of attacking impotence, and that's because of the defensive stability of Idrissa Gana Gueye down in the middle of the pitch, allowing Doucouré and just unlocking him somewhat, especially with Onana on the other side as well. It just gave him a little bit more freedom, and what that ended up doing was it ended up pushing Granit Xhaka back a little bit. If we have a look at where Granit Xhaka's heat map is, most of it is actually in his own half, going into the opposition half, and if we can see, it's mostly around here, whereas really for Arsenal, where he's been best is around this area. He wasn't able to get into those positions, and neither was Martin Odegaard, and in doing that, you really are stopping Arsenal from going forwards. You're stopping them from becoming that attacking threat, and it also nullifies a lot of the late midfield runs that Arsenal have had in the box of late. Another thing I was really impressed with was Dwight McNeil and Alex Iwobi. They swapped sides during the match, and I thought that was to their benefit. They really did do a number on Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, and once they had nullified this Arsenal front line, who really couldn't get anything going, it was then by finding Dominic Calvert-Lewin, by making those runs through Onana, by making that pressurising runs through Doucouré. McNeil with his good crossing, that's where the goal came from. I was extremely impressed with Everton, and they really found a way to stop Arsenal, but also to make themselves threatening going forwards. If we have a look at some of the stats, we can see that Everton, with their 1.67 expected goals, was much higher than Arsenal's. Just proof that Arsenal really couldn't get anything going. And while, yes, they did have more shots, and I'm sure Arsenal fans will point towards that, they only had 3 on target. That is horrendous for that amount of chances. Everton had more. Everton were the more lethal team. Everton had the more chances. They had the clearer opportunities. Arsenal had 0. So really, when you look at this game and you actually look at the stats, Everton were by far the more comfortable team. Everton were by far the better side in this game. And if this is an example of what Sean Dyche can do with his team, in a few months, Everton are going to be absolutely fine. It was a fantastic performance to begin with. It was just brilliant to see. And the game ended Everton 1, Arsenal 0. But to be quite honest with you, it could have been more. Now we turn our attention to one of the biggest results of the weekend. That is Wolves beating Liverpool by 3-0. It was 2-0 at half-time due to some poor mistakes from Liverpool, but also some very, very good play from Wolves. I don't think enough people are giving Wolves credit during this analysis, and I'm here to do that because while I thought that Liverpool were very bad, I did think that Wolves were absolutely sensational. They were set up in a different way, and we're going to go through that in just a second, but they really managed to stop and stifle Liverpool while also maintaining their own attacking creativity going forwards. You can see from the attacking momentum bar, it was 2-0 down and Liverpool really came into it into the second half, but Wolves were ready for that. They stepped into a lower block and they dropped a little bit deeper, allowing themselves to get on the counter-attack. They managed to get those turnovers, and while they didn't have too many chances going forwards, they really soaked up the pressure, and I didn't ever really think that Liverpool were going to score. If we go down and have a look at the teams, I was extremely impressed with a number of players here. Lemina was brilliant in the centre of midfield. His aggression to really start closing down and engaging the Liverpool midfielders was brilliant. Hwang Hee-chan, I thought, also did a brilliant job of making sure that pressurising on the ball was one of the main points and one of the main issues that Wolves had to deal with. Sarabia did a very good job of dropping into midfield, even though they did play in a 4-4-2. And Matheus Cunha was a man possessed with the amount of running that he did. But it was Matheus Nunes that I was extremely impressed with. If you can see, he was out on this left-hand side, and normally that's not really a position we'd expect him to be in. He really found himself up in these further quadrants, this higher channel, and normally Liverpool would be pushing them back, but Matheus Nunes managed to find a width and a pocket of space that he was able to operate in. This allowed him to drive into the pitch and also make sure that he had an overlapping run from Aït-Nouri or be able to go himself. He was an extremely intelligent footballer, and while it wasn't his normal natural position of playing in central midfield, I thought he did a very, very good job of making sure and making Liverpool's lives difficult. If we have a look at it, we can see that he won 4 out of his 5 ground duels. That's just brilliant. 2 out of his 2 aerial duels. He really was a threat on this left-hand side. Perhaps Julian Lopetegui has found a position for him that can really suit Wolves, because they had a balance to them. He had a good running power, he had good pressing ability, and he also had a dynamism that linked up with Lemina and Cunha very, very well. It was very, very impressive to see how Wolves managed to go forwards while also maintaining their defensive stability. And their defensive stability was really matched by Craig Dawson, who gave a good guiding performance to Max Kilman, who in turn created quite a good duel. Nelson Semedo on his overlaps, as well as Ryan Aït-Nouri, who liked to defend. They dropped back in the second half and it made a very, very strong back four. That line was very, very strong and it allowed them to really create a basis for their counterattacks going forward. Ruben Neves got his goal, but I do think that Wolves could have had more, especially on the counterattack. With Adama Traoré coming in for Hwang Hee-chan, they really did have that counterattacking threat, and they got turnovers more often than not, allowing them to really transition into Liverpool's half. As for Liverpool, where did it really go wrong? Well, it really just was terrible from almost every single point. I really feel like Bajcetic is being thrown in at the deep end. I don't think he's being given the tools that he desperately needs. He's 18 years old and he's been asked to link this Liverpool midfield, and to be honest with you, at times he just seems a little bit out of his depth. He's got quality, don't get me wrong, Liverpool fans don't have a go at me, but I just think he's being thrown into the wolves, and I just, no pun intended, but he just doesn't seem to be able to grasp the opportunity that he has at any point in time during a match. And while his passing is fine, I'm sure he's better than Fabinho, I just think that Liverpool need a little bit more. Thiago Alcantara again was a bit poor, Naby Keita really not winning his duels. And then you have a look at the front three. And the front three is where I have a big issue with. Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez have been swapping positions nearly every single game. Mohamed Salah isn't getting any better. He's not finding his feet. The players are not able to find him. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a shadow of his former self and he's not able to get anything going. Normally you'd see crossfield passes up the line. Normally you'd see him play these passes over to the other side, but it just doesn't happen. Liverpool aren't actually going forward with their fullbacks anymore, and that's another main issue. This system revolves around fullbacks really creating overloads out on this channel, and if Liverpool aren't doing it to try and make sure that they're defensively sound, they aren't doing a good job, because they were 3-0 down after this game ended. Joe Gomez wasn't great and Joel Matip was pretty horrendous during this match, so clearly confidence is low. But I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the amount that Liverpool are trying the same formation and trying the same amount of players. They need to find a different system. It's clearly not working for them. This isn't making Cody Gakpo any better. Darwin Núñez is struggling to really get into games, and when he does get chances, he doesn't have the confidence to really take them. Mohamed Salah is absent for most of the match, and just generally most of the matches this season. They need to find a way of getting him on the ball and getting him into scoring positions more often than not. Yes, he hasn't been scoring too many times, but I really do think that he's being throttled of support. He's being throttled of any kind of opportunity to really make his mark. Give him a couple of chances, not just one, not expecting him to be perfect on the first time out, because clearly confidence is lacking. If we scroll down and have a look at the stats, we can see that Liverpool, yes, while they dominated the game in terms of stats, they weren't in the game really. Wolves had 6 shots on target. Wolves had 6 big chances. This could have been 5-0. I'm not kidding. Liverpool had 1, and yes, they missed 1, but it just wasn't good enough. Wolves with their 2 expected goals, Liverpool with 1.96, I should say, isn't that bad. But really, at the end of the day, I think Wolves were worthy winners, and you can see that in the way that they played and the performance that they showed. Again, much like Everton, if this is the kind of performance that Julian Lopetegui is going to get out of his Wolverhampton Wanderers team, I have no doubt in saying that they will be absolutely fine. The game ended 3-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and like the game before, it could have been more. Last but not least, we have Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester City. Tottenham end up winning that 1-0. City are unable to capitalise on Arsenal dropping points against Everton. If we have a look at the attacking momentum bar, it really did seem all Man City, especially in that first half. But Tottenham weathered the storm very, very well. Defensively, they looked finally like an Antonio Conte team. They understood when to press, when to go forwards. They understood how far to drop deep. I thought that City were very poor, especially in the second half, and I didn't think they really managed to materialise anything going forwards. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I was extremely impressed with Tottenham in this game. We can scroll down and have a look at the players, and really it's about Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg and Rodrigo Bentancur. They did a fantastic job of shuffling across and making sure that they were really aggressive in a press, and that's where the goal came from. They pressurised the likes of Rico Lewis down in this position. He was in centre midfield. They nicked the ball, and then it allowed them to really counter higher up the pitch. But that wasn't really the game of Tottenham. The game of Tottenham was making sure they were stable, making sure they were controlled. Emerson Royal and Ivan Perisic were very good options, and I really did think that going forwards they had a lot of joy down on this Manchester City left on Tottenham's right hand side. Kulusevski caused absolute nightmares for them on this side. Rico Lewis ended up coming into midfield, and that just left so much space out on this channel for Spurs to attack. It was an absolute nightmare for City to try and defend in most of these scenarios and most of these situations. The turnovers would happen, and then it would go through the likes of Harry Kane, who would then play the ball through to Kulusevski, who was continuously on the run down this channel. Emerson Royal was continuously making runs in between as well, just making that different option. On this right hand side, it was not really the same. Mahrez and Kyle Walker did a pretty good job of defending against Perisic and Heung-min Son, but it was down this channel here that it was just so potent, and they were continuously getting in. It made it very, very difficult for the likes of Nathan Ake and Akanji to really start defending, who I didn't think actually had a very good game. On the flip side, I thought that Man City were just atrocious in going forwards, and I don't normally associate that with them, but they were absolutely awful, let me just tell you. Jack Grealish was by far their best player, but apart from that, Rodri was extremely poor. He gave the ball away when he tried to pass to Rico Lewis, and that caused the goal to happen. Bernardo Silva was not releasing the pass quickly enough, and when we have a look at it, Erling Haaland, who is arguably the best and most potent goalscorer in the world currently, had 0 shots. At the same time, he also had only 27 touches in the entire game. This is the striker of any club's dreams. He's young, he's firing, he's fit, and he's extremely physical, and you're not utilising him. This is Man City's downfall. Julian Alvarez tried to move into the centre of midfield to try and pick some pockets. He then went into that second striker role. You can see that the formation is a 4-4-2, and it just didn't work for Man City. Tottenham were all over them. Tottenham had a good defensive discipline. They just didn't have the pass to unlock that midfield. Where is Kevin De Bruyne? I looked at this team lineup and I was screaming out for some kind of creativity coming from Manchester City, and it just didn't materialise. Bernardo Silva held onto the ball for far too long, as did Rodri. They were far too convinced in trying to get around the channels, trying to get around the sides, but they never ever crossed the ball. There was never any crossing. Julian Alvarez never managed to get any kind of service. Haaland never got any kind of service, and all it did was materialise nothing. It was a appalling performance from Man City, and really they are going to be ruining this missed chance to capitalise on Arsenal dropping points. We're going to have a final look at the stats here, and as we can see, it was just poor. 0.97. You can't see that at the moment, but 0.97 is just an atrocious expected goals for Man City. 1.48 for Tottenham. Yes, they had lower stats. Yes, Man City dominated it, but really, Tottenham were very comfortable in the game. I thought they were pretty comfortable, and it was just stark in contrast. The two teams, one team knowing what they wanted to do, the other team struggling to really create any kind of opportunities. 2 big chances for Tottenham, 0 for Man City. It was an appalling day at the office, and really, I think City got exactly what they deserve. They need to fix up. They need to understand how to get Haaland into the game, and the game ended 1-0 to Tottenham. It was a thoroughly deserved win. Man City can complain all they like, but really they should be looking inwards rather than complaining about other decisions like referee decisions and everything of the like. They need to be looking at themselves. They need to have a good, hard think about what's going wrong, because Haaland is not getting into the game and they're not scoring goals. A big, big problem. As for Tottenham, a big step forwards. Let's finish off by having a look at some of the previous results that we haven't covered and looking at the Premier League table. Chelsea drew with Fulham 0-0. Chelsea are struggling to get their new stars intertwined into this squad, and Graham Potter is going to need a lot of time to really get into this team. Get who he wants playing on the pitch, and then find a way of playing, find a formation, find a set piece of tactics. It's going to take time. Graham Potter needs time to be able to gel this side. Is he going to get that? We need to wait and see. Now, let's go and have a look at some of the other results. Brentford beating Southampton by 3-0. Brentford march on yet again. Southampton, 3-0. Nathan Jones, what is going on there? I've heard a lot of Southampton fans unhappy. If you are watching this and you're a Southampton fan, let me know what you think is going wrong. What would you like me to talk about? I can go in depth on Southampton and talk about that. In fact, any club that wants to be spoken about, let me know who you are in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to have a look at it. Brighton have Albion beating Bournemouth by 1-0. That was a good result for Brighton. They keep going. They keep marching towards that European spot. Can they make Europe? That is the big question. Can they do it? Is it possible? I believe it is. They have quality, they don't have too many games, and they seem to be riding that wave of positivity. Leicester City getting a big win, 4-2 against Aston Villa. Unai Emery's side just falling. It was a cracker of a match. If you haven't watched the highlights, please go and check it out, because it was absolutely brilliant. There's a player in there called Tete that Leicester managed to sign from Shakhtar Donetsk. It was a difficult signing to bring in, but he looks like quite a prospect, so check that game out as well. We also have Manchester United getting red carded. Casemiro not really showing himself in the greatest of lights. It just wasn't fantastic, was it? The way he put his hands on, I think it was Will Hughes at the time, just not fantastic. I don't actually think it was a red card. I think there's a different angle that looks like he's trying to pull his shirt, but I'm not surprised that it was given as a red card because of the fact that you can't put your hands anywhere near someone's neck or face. West Ham dropping points with Newcastle, and Newcastle dropping points as well, especially after that huge win to get through into the EFL Cup final. Newcastle are seriously going places. They are 4th at the moment. We'll have a look at the table in just a second, but they are really doing so well. Drop points, but still not a loss. Eddie Howe and his men march on. Nottingham Forest getting a massive win against Leeds United. Leeds United, what is going on? What is going wrong? Is Jesse Marsch the answer? Is he the problem? Should he go? I've had a lot of Leeds United fans unhappy. I think he still needs a little bit of time. I think he needs just some time to bed in his players, to get Weston McKennie into the side. They are playing the correct stuff. They are getting the ball into the right areas. They're just not finding that killer pass, that final finish, and that is currently costing them. Right, let's go now have a look at the Premier League table. We have Southampton on the bottom with 15 points. Not fantastic. That being said, it's still only 15 points, and there's only a 3-point difference between the bottom of the table and getting out of the relegation zone. So there is still hope, there is still time, don't fret. We have Wolves climbing up into 15th after that huge win against Liverpool, 20 points, and now I believe they play Bournemouth and Southampton in their next couple of games, so a chance to really rocket up the table. We also have Liverpool in 10th after their poor performance against Wolves. I just don't know what's going on with Liverpool at the moment. Is it the recruitment? Is it the players? Is it Jurgen Klopp himself? I've heard a few Liverpool fans claim that Klopp is the answer and Klopp needs to be looked at. Should he stay or should he go? Is Klopp the answer to really rebuild Liverpool? Liverpool fans, let me know your thoughts. And Graham Potter with Chelsea in 9th. 21 games played, 30 points, I should say. Is that good enough? Are Chelsea rebuilding? Is that where we're going with this? Is it just going to be a rebuild this season? They're going to go again next season? Where are you happy to finish, Chelsea fans? Let me know your thoughts. And then we'll have a look at the top of the table here. We have Arsenal up in first. After dropping those 3 points against Everton, Man City did not capitalise. Is that going to be a huge turn in the title race that allows Arsenal really kick on? Manchester United gaining 3 points on their nearest rivals. They are still 3 points behind Man City though, and 8 points behind Arsenal. That's far too much for them, but will Man City be able to catch Arsenal? Remember, they still have 2 games left to play. They still have to play each other. Can they claw it back? It's still possible. Everything is to play for, and Tottenham Hotspur, obviously after their huge win against Man City, getting themselves up and closer to Newcastle. Only 1 point difference, Tottenham having played 1 extra game. But will Newcastle be able to hold them off for the entirety of the season? We will wait and see. I'm still so impressed with Brighton, Brentford and Fulham. Just brilliant on how they're going forwards. Fulham played an absolutely great game against Chelsea. Yes, it was 0-0, but the football they played was sensational, and really they could have had a goal in that game and really could have won it. Brighton and Brentford are just high and flying. But it's Arsenal that will be, I would argue, the happiest after dropping those 3 points, but making sure that they're still top of the table and still 5 points clear. A huge round of Premier League fixtures. Let me know what you think of this weekend's action. That's it for today, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave the video with a like and subscribe if you haven't, for more content like this coming very soon. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well. You don't want to miss what's coming up in the near future, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know who your team is and how they've done this weekend. Let me know what's going on. I'd love to hear from you. But like I said, that's it from me for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care of yourselves and bye-bye.